Welcome to the pathology class. So today we are going to start with a new chapter, that is diseases of the female genitalia and breast. So in today's session we are going to discuss about definition of Bartholin's adenitis, causes of vaginitis, types of cervicitis, and we are going to define about salpingitis, pelvic inflammatory diseases. Then we are going through endometritis and myometritis, where we are talking about its types and causes. Next, we are going to deal with the morphology of fibroadenoma. And lastly, we are going to deal with the acute mastitis and breast abscess and its pathogenesis. So moving through with the first thing, that is a Bartholin's adenitis. It is defined as the inflammation of Bartholin's vulvovaginal glands and may occur due to bacterial infection. Notably, gonorrhea infections are the gonorrhea is very prominently causing the all the infections at the female genitalia. So infection may be acute or a chronic one. Going for the next, that is the causes of vaginitis. So main causes of vaginitis, that is bacterial, that is especially streptococcal and E. coli infections, Haemophilus vaginalis, fungal, for example, that is a commonly we see that is a Candida albicans which infects the vagina. Then we have a protozoal infections, mainly because of the trichomonas vaginalis. Then viral, we have herpes simplex as an example, where we have viral vaginitis. The most common cause of the vaginitis are Candida and Trichomonas vaginalis. The hive of Candida can be seen in the vaginal smear. Similarly, the protozoa Trichomonas can be identified in the smear taken of the vaginal smear when we study microscopically. Going for the next part, that is a cervicitis, its types. So cervicitis may be specified or non-specified or non-specific. Then it may be acute or chronic one. So specific cervicitis may be caused by the tuberculosis, syphilis, granuloma inguinale, lymphangioma, then venereum, chlamydia, and cankeroids. Non-specific cervicitis is more frequently and is generally divided into acute or chronic forms, the latter being the quite common. Acute cervicitis. The acute cervicitis is usually associated with purpurine or gunal infection. Other causes of are primary canker and infection with herpes simplex. So morphologically, when we see in the morphological features grossly, when we see the cervix showed everted endocervical mucosa, which is red and edematous. Histologically, there is a infiltration of the subepithelial and periglandular tissue with neutrophil, and there is a edema and congestion seen at the cervix level. The mucosa may be ulcerated and hemorrhagic. As per the chronic cervicitis is concerned, so chronic non-specific cervicitis is encountered quite frequently and is the common cause of leukorrhea. So the most common organism responsible for chronic cervicitis are the normal mixed vaginal flora that includes streptococcal, enterococci, that is E. coli, and staphylococci. So the factor predisposing to chronic cervicitis are sexual intercourse, trauma of childbirth, instrumentation, and excess or deficiency of estrogen hormone. As for the morphological features are concerned of chronic cervicitis, the grossly, there is a eversion of ectocervix with hyperemia, edema, and granular surface. Nembothian cyst may be grossly visible from surface as fairly gray vesicles. Histologically, the chronic cervicitis is characterized by extensive subepithelial inflammatory infiltrate of leukocytes, plasma cells, large mononuclear cells, and a few neutrophils. There may be a formation of lymphoid follicles termed follicular cervicitis. The surface epithelium may be normal or may show squamous metaplasia. The squamous epithelium of the ectocervix is cases uterine prolapse, may develop surface keratinization and hyperkeratosis, so called epithelialization. So area of squamous metaplasia and hyperkeratosis may be mistaken on cursory microscopic look for a Welkin differentiated squamous cell carcinoma. Next, moving to the next part, that is salpingitis and pelvic inflammatory diseases. Here we are going to have only the definition of these two as per your curriculum is concerned. So salpingitis, it is the inflammation of fallopian tubes, is known as a salpingitis, while the pelvic inflammatory disease, also known as a PID, is a commonly we pronounce, by definition, is a clinical syndrome characterized by signs and symptoms of ascending infection beginning in the vulva or vagina and spread through the entire genital tract. So most commonly, the PID occurs as a venereal transmitted infection, chiefly caused by Chlamydia trachomonatis and Neisseria gonorrhea. So post-abortal and uh, postpartum infections are mainly caused by streptococci, coliform bacteria, Clostridia, and pneumococci. Next, that is endometritis and myometritis. So it is the inflammatory involvement of the endometrium and myometrium are commonly clinical problems. Myometritis is seen less frequently than endometritis and occur in contribution with endometrial infections. So endometritis and myometritis may be acute or a chronic. So going for the acute form generally result from three main cause, that is puerperal following full term delivery, abortion and retained product of the conception. Next we have intrauterine contraceptive devices, that is we say IUCD, especially we have IUCD like copper T, which is very prone to have such type of infection when we put the copper T. It is one of the complication of IUCDs. Next, we have extension of gonorrheal infections from cervix and vagina. Chronic form is more common and occurs by the same cause which results in acute phase. So, in addition to that, it may be tuberculous endometritis is an example of specific chronic inflammation, uncommon in the Western countries, but not so common, uncommon in developing countries like India. It is very common. Its incidence in India is reported to be approximately in 5% of women. So next, moving for the fibroadenoma. So morphological features of fibroadenoma. So grossly, typical fibroadenoma is a small 2 to 4 centimeter diameter, solitary, well encapsulated, spherical or discoid mass. The cut surface is firm, gray-white, slightly myxoid, and may show slit-like space formed by compressed ducts. Occasionally, multiple fibroadenoma may be formed part of fibroblastic diseases and is termed fibroadenomatosis. So, the less commonly, fibroadenoma may be fairly large in size, up to 15 centimeter in diameter, and is called giant fibroadenoma, but lacks the histological features of cystosarcoma phalloides. As for the microscopic features of fibroadenoma is concerned, so fibroadenoma tissue comprises most of a fibroadenoma. The arrangement between fibrous overgrowth and ducts may produce two types of pattern which may coexist in the same tumor. So these are intracanicular and pericanicular pattern. So moving one by one, that is an intracanicular pattern of features, macroscopic features present in phytoadenoma is one in which the stroma compresses the duct so that they are reduced to slit like clefts lined by ductal epithelium or may appear as the cords of epithelial elements surrounding masses of fibrous stroma. Pericanicular pattern is characterized by encircling masses of fibrous stroma around the patent or dilated ducts. The fibrous stroma may be quite cellular or there may be area of hyalinized collagen. Sometimes the stroma is loose and myxedematous. Occasionally, the fibrous tissue elements in the tumor is scanty and tumors is instead predominantly composed of closely packed ductular or acinar proliferation and it's termed tubular adenoma. If an adenoma is composed of acini with secretory activities, it is called lactating adenoma seen during pregnancy or lactation. Juvenile fibroadenoma is an uncommon variant of fibroadenoma which is large and rapidly growing mass seen in adolescent girls but fortunately does not recur after excision. The last part, that is acute mastitis and breast abscess. So the acute pyogenic infections of the breast occurs chiefly during the first few weeks of lactation and sometimes by eczema of the nipples. Bacteria such as Staphylococci and Streptococci gain entry into the breast by development of cracks and fissures in the nipple. Initially, a localized area of acute inflammation is produced, which is, if not effectively treated, may cause a single or multiple breast abscess. So, extensive necrosis and replacement by fibrous scarring of the breast with retraction of the nipple may result. So, this is the end of the today's chapter, that is the disease of the female genitalia and breast.